All right, good morning. Good morning, good day to the Holy Land. Shvat, Yom Yom. The daily recital of Tillim after davening applies equally to Chabad Hasidim, shuls, those Hasidic shuls, and to those who follow the Ashkenazic or Polish Nusach as well. May Hashem be with them. On account of Ahavas Yisroel, love of our fellow Jew, and especially in view of the importance and inner purpose of saying Tillim with a minyan, which literally affects all of Israel materially in children, life, and sustenance, and spiritually, we must endeavor with every means possible that it become an established practice in every shul of every nusach. I never took a checkpoint. I wonder how we're doing this. Tillim every day in every shul. I don't know. Lessons in Tanya. Page 254. Here, page Chuf Dalet, the top of page Chuf Dalet, opposite page 46. Second line down. Okay, we're talking about the ability that every Jew has to awaken one's service of God, at least in one's mouth and in one's heart and in one's deed, which is an inheritance from our fathers and mothers. And the fathers, the first father is Abraham, and in the first of the Sephiros, the first Sephira, which Avram emulates, on the Midas level, he's the Midah of Chesed, but Chesed goes right up to Chochmah, for the origin of the right side of the Sephiros. And Chochmah, me'ayin timotze. Chochmah comes from the ayin. Chochmah has a connection with the ayin, and therefore, the ayin, the Ein Sof itself, is drawn through and down and down and down into the sphere of Malchus, the sphere of Malchus, which is the birthplace of all the lower worlds. And therefore, every person who has that analogous structure within us, we have the 10 koichos, which are analogous to and align with the 10 spheros. Every single person, no matter how low, no matter what level you are, have an infusion of the ayin through the chokhmah. So with that, we start. Chokhmah, hi makar haseichel. What is chokhmah? The first mind power is the source of seichel. It's the source of intellect. It's not intellect. It's the source of intellect. It's certainly not thought, because we go from a koyach to a seichel to a thought. Machshava is a garment. So chokhmah is deep. Chokhmah is our part of what we would call our preconscious brain. It's the place where inspiration flows in before it gets any kind of tangibility, any kind of form. Chokhmah is makar ha-seichel. It's the source of seichel, the havana, and it's the source of understanding. V'hilamayla mehabin, and it's higher than understanding. Shehu havanas ha-seichel. Understanding is when one understands some intellectual faculty, some intellectual concept, and grasps it, grasping it, fleshing it out, we would say. That's the function of Bina. Chokhmah is just the window into the inspiration and ultimately into the Ein Sof up above. Chokhmah is higher than, or we would say deeper than. I always like to point that out, since we're not talking here in terms of gradations of spatial, one on top of another. Deeper than. Chokhmah is deeper than Bina, the Hasaga and understanding. And it's the source for them. Chokhmah is the source for understanding and grasping. If you look at the word Chokhmah, you can see it's made up of the Ches and the Chaf, reversed, is Koyach, which is power, and Ma, the power of Ma. The power of what? What means the power of that which I don't understand. I have a koyach to relate to that which is beyond understanding. That's chokhmah. Shehu ma, she'ena musa. Chokhmah is the power to relate to the ma, the what, about which you can say only what? What is it? But you have a sense that it's something that's beyond understanding, moving, and it's not understood. And it's not yet grasped in a person's understanding. I don't have a handle, but you know that it's there. And therefore, since Chokhmah is of that kind of thing that can relate to the ayin, so it can include in it the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the leis machshavat tefisa beklal, about which it's said that no thought can grasp him at all. In other words, no thought can grasp him, but where can he be grasped? With the koyach ma. In the power of Chokhmah, one can relate to that which is ungraspable. And everybody has this koyach Chokhmah. And as we said earlier, this filters down, all the way through all the levels of the neshama in every individual, and all through the various levels of a person, no matter how smart, how unsmart, how learned, how unlearned. That's what he says. Kol Yisrael, every Jewish people, every Jewish person, afilu hanoshim va'ami ha'oretz, even women and simple people. And this is not about sex discrimination or class discrimination. It's just a reference to people who are, in those days, women, and certainly Amiores did not study Torah. They were not acquiring the Torah through das, through understanding. You don't need to do that. Because even without that, every one of us is a hem hamaminim. We are believers. The Hashem. We have the faculty that we're going to line up with the power of Chokhmah is the faculty of Amunah. Everyone has ma'aminim b'Hashem. She'amunah ilamayla min hadas. Just like Chokhmah is higher than das, Amunah is higher than das. V'hasoga, and understanding. Ki pesei yamin l'chol davar. A fool will believe anything. Now this is a fool in a positive way. This is like shtus de kedusha. Get beyond the rational and get above it and beyond it, which he's calling here foolishness, something that's out of the bounds of rationality. And a fool will believe anything. I mean, it can be said pejoratively as well, but here it means positive foolishness. The Odom Yavin, and a clever person, that's a different kind of person, will understand, but a fool can come on to Amunah. Well, in relation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehila Ma'ila Min HaSeichel, if you could say such a thing, Hashem is a fool, meaning what? His existence is entirely above any intellect, the Hadas. And no thought can grasp him at all. He's beyond the level of thought, and certainly beyond the level of, well, certainly beyond thought, and if so, also above Seichel, beyond Seichel. Hakol kapasoyim, so everyone, no matter how smart, no matter how learned, he is by definition above all of that. So all of us are in the category of fools, etzlei esborek, in relation to God. Kadesiv David HaMelech writes, "Ani bar bor b'lei oida." I was foolish and I didn't know. Behemoths o yisi imo, animals were within me, with men. Behemoths o yisi imo, I was like animals with you. The ani tomid imo, and yet I'm still with you. Just like, I mean, this is something that you probably have noticed. The animals have a sensitivity that humans don't. And it's not the sensitivity of seichel. It's a sensitivity of something much deeper, much, we would say, lower in a certain way, but deeper in the terms of consciousness than a human has. So it's a positive in this place, being an animal with Hashem. Kleimus means to say, it says, because, and he explains is that in this itself, that David HaMelech says, I'm a fool and I'm an animal, ani tomenima, that's the way I can be continually with you. Because you yourself are much higher than anybody, seichel, and the only way that you can really relate to the Ein Sof is with faculties which are much deeper. What I called earlier our preconscious, our lower, deeper functionality, which is deeper than seichel. Therefore, even a person who's literally the light of the light, the ones who are taking things very lightly, and those even a sinner amongst the Jewish people, Moistim Nashal Kedushas Hashem. They give themselves over. They give their life over for the holiness of Hashem. Al Raiv in most cases. And they're able to bear difficult tortures, the Hashem Echad, in order not to deny the existence of the oneness of God. Even if they are rough people, coarse people, and people of the earth, who know nothing about, have not studied or learned anything about the greatness of Hashem. There's something, I mean, we could call it roughly, it's not 100%, instinct. We have an instinct for God. We have a deep pre-conscious connection with God. And even the little that they know, these people we're referring to, they haven't contemplated, they don't do conscious meditation. And they don't, this that they give themselves over entirely, excuse me, is not because of their das, their understanding, their knowledge of his baininess, but Hashem klal at all. The total given overness that every Jew has the capability of within oneself is something which is without das, without knowledge, and acquisition of knowledge, and without contemplation and meditation. That's his baininess. This is something that you could say is something that's impossible to deny in the oneness of Hashem. And that it's impossible to deny deep and down inside of ourselves, the ability that we have to, that it's impossible to deny the oneness of God is without any reason, without any claim, and without any answer, without any, someone asked you why, just because. Behind Mishum, that gives an answer, right? Behind Mishum, Hashem Echad Meir Umechaya Kol Nefesh, because the oneness of Hashem illuminates and enlivens every soul through the fact that the soul, even the low here, nefesh, right, the lowest level of the soul, and then we go up all of the layers of the soul.
Your connection's not good.
Is it with everybody?
Avi, your connection's not good.
Is anyone else having that problem? Can someone tell me if everyone's having this? No. You're not having
fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's your connection, Elisha. Okay. So everyone has within them the Hashem Echad, Meir Umechaya Kol Nefesh. The oneness of Hashem radiates, illuminates, and enlightens every soul. Through the fact that every soul, at the lowest level, or all the way up, lowest level of person, lowest level of everybody's soul, which is called Nefesh, is connected all the way up into Chokhmah, and the Chokhmah, with the Chokhmah Shabbat, and in Chokhmah, one is connected with the level which is Lamayla Min Hadas, higher than any understanding, B'Haseichel, HaMusag U'Muvah, higher than any knowledge or intellect which is graspable and understood. That's the nature of our soul, and this is the smoldering fire, where we've talked about the light, the spark ready to be flared up. Is there, present in everyone. One you have to know it's there, which we now know because we just learned about it, and one has to put it into action. And everyone has the capability. So that's today's Tanya. Pretty clear?
Okay. It's easy to read the words, but it's harder to practice it. What it really means to me is that we're all equally close and equally distant to Hashem. And it's a really great basis for Ahavas Yisrael.
Absolutely. That's a very good takeaway. A very good takeaway. Also, to put into practice, one of the ways that Hashem motivates to put us in practice is the negative. In other words, when a person really gets tied up and just can't take it anymore. So that's often the way that this spark of God becomes realizable by people.
That's the no atheists in the foxhole theory.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. But now that we know it, we don't have to wait for that, God willing. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Bechein? Short and sweet. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Wonderful month ahead.